For some reason, I'm not seeing a video with your all's bios playing, and that's what's typically playing at this time. I'm not sure what's going on. I don't know. No.
Has the music stopped playing? Okay.
I'll give everybody a few more minutes to join if they were planning on attending this session.
So my iPad just froze up. You guys still hear me?
Yes.
Gotcha.
All right, I think we can go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to the Project Highlight Tracks presentation for the Graves Road Design Build Project. I'm John Meyer from H&B Professional Engineers, and I want to thank you for joining us today. Presenting for us today will be Mitch Crump and Josh Carter from Jurgensen Company's Infrastructure Solutions, Brandon Seiter from KYTC District 6, and Kevin Dameron from Palmer Engineering. And without further ado, I will hand it over to our presenters.
Thank you, John. This is Mitch Crump with Eaton Asphalt, and I'll start off first. Thanks for allowing us to present today on the Graves Road and I-275 interchange. I guess to get going, what I will say is the why of Graves Road and I-275 interchange project. I think the picture on the screen to the left, the top left, is existing Graves Road in late 2019 shows a good reason why Graves Road was selected for the first design build job in Northern Kentucky. In the top left corner, you can see all the industrial area with the big box warehouses. Also to the top right of the picture, you can't tell, but the CVG Airport is located within 3 to 5 miles of this project. The Northern Kentucky area has experienced rapid growth over the last 3 to 5 years. The Cincinnati Northern Kentucky Airport is one of the fastest growing airports in the nation, specifically to cargo. As a result, infrastructure upgrades are required to handle the increase in truck traffic and increase in population. The Graves Road interchange will be a major upgrade that will improve mobility and safety in this area. Back in March of 2019, when this job was advertised for bid, we had to take a look at it as Eaton Asphalt and understand this project. The first item that we undertook was the big risk factors. First and foremost, there was 2 on this project that were a big challenge to Eaton Asphalt. One was right-of-way acquisition, and 2 was utility relocation. I guess to put it best, back in spring of 19, the Design Build conference was held in Cincinnati, Ohio, And one of the presenters said, the worst design build that you could get involved in had right-of-way acquisition, utility relocation, and was politically motivated. So it was a major undertaking, to say the least. With that being said, we were excited to take this task on and go on and submit a bid for this project. With that being said, Eaton Asphalt selected 2 dedicated subcontractors, John R. Jurgensen and Hayden Bridge. Not only had Eaton worked with both companies, but they also brought design build experience to the team. The other half of the equation was the design engineers. Eaton Asphalt selected Palmer Engineering as the lead designer, with Burgess and Neipel, Geotechnology, Integrated Engineering, and Gresham Smith filling out the design component. Kevin, or Josh, I'll turn it over to you. Did we lose
Josh,
Josh?
is Josh there?
I think we might have lost Josh.
I think we might have lost Josh. Good afternoon, everyone. If Josh comes on, I'll hand it back to him. For those that are looking at the screen, it's pretty obvious that I'm not Stephen Sewell. I'm Kevin Dameron. Stephen was the design project manager for this project, and he led the job. But unfortunately, he had a conflict that came into place after we set up the time for this presentation with the City of Lexington Planning Commission. And he's still hopeful that he might be able to drop into the presentation. But let me just say this. You know, sometimes we offer new and improved. I think I'm the old and the non-golfing version of Steve Sewell. So, but I will be doing Steve's portion of the presentation. For the statement of qualifications, basically, this was an area that is much more suited for the typical design process where we do proposals, and we helped lead that for Eaton and Jurgensen on this project. And what was critical was to get the project manager, the right-of-way and utility managers, the structures and construction managers, get those task leads assigned, and to work on the similar projects to start assembling the proposal and get shortlisted. Once we were able to work together and get all of that done, there were 5 companies that had submitted, and the 3 were shortlisted. And the cabinet did offer a stipend for this project. And please allow me, as the representative of the design team, to say that the stipend was not enough for a project of this complexity, but we're still thankful for being a part of the project. So as I said, the key thing was to assign key task managers for not only to lead the project. Let's see, I got a text, but it wasn't from Stephen Sewell. But not only to lead the project, but also in preparing the SOQ and the technical proposal. So we had Stephen Sewell, the design project manager. Ray Robinson with Burgess and Neipel were the Ray Robinson was the roadway task manager. Brad Robinson was the task manager for structures. Bill Bassage with geotechnology led the geotech work. David Waldner led the environmental. Keith McDonald led right-of-way, and I led the utility. I led the utility coordination, but the utility issues were so complicated on this project that it was a teamed effort with Ed Sanders of Jurgensen and Eaton Asphalt. We worked together on that. From a design team standpoint, our task was to put plan quantities together. We needed to do appropriate engineering work so that Eaton could bid the project. You needed to get just as much done as you could, but on the other hand, you wanted to kind of make sure that you didn't go too far, because once again, you were limited on what funding you had. So once we had the quantities put together, we would provide those to Eaton, and then they would either price the quantities or they would turn to their subcontractors. Mitch, you've got your microphone off. I don't know if there's anything you want to add there.
Hey, Kevin, can you hear me now?
Oh, I can.
Sorry about that. My computer decided to fail. This is Josh Carter with John R. Jorgensen. Unfortunately, I didn't get to talk about my least favorite part of design build, and that's the two-step process. Kevin did a good writing the statement of qualifications. Kevin did a good job there. I think the one thing that's important to point out is all of us contractors would like to bid whatever job we want, but due to the ATC process and the interaction with the department and the stipend, it's just not possible to have multiple contractors. So KYTC decided on this particular project that 3 was the best way to go. And then on the plan development part and the technical proposal, 90% of all disputes are a result of what happens in plan development. And as you can see here, the plan development starts very early in the process. We're still in the technical proposal phase, and the plan development's already starting. So this is already a very critical part of the project. Thanks, Kevin.
So one of the things that was a positive with this project is KYTC was open to alternative technical concepts, and they allowed for meetings to take place between the design build team and the contract team. I mean, the design build team and with KYTC, and we could notify them in advance of what issues that we wanted to talk about, and including if we had an alternative technical concept that we wanted to present and to discuss. So in the development of the project, we came up with the list of alternative technical concepts that you see there. We basically proposed an alignment shift of Graves Road it was tied to our interchange layout, but it also enabled us to improve upon the maintenance of traffic. By shifting the alignment of Graves Road, we also shifted the Kentucky 20 intersection. And we, on the other end of the job, we proposed, I guess there was a roundabout there. We had some ideas of what to do for the roundabout. One of the alternative technical concepts we had was with asphalt pavement. And one of the things I want to point out is Eaton Asphalt was the lead contractor on the team, and not Eaton Concrete. It's Eaton Asphalt. So as a with our design build team, we just thought it would make good sense to change the pavement design on the project for I-275 from concrete to asphalt. And the cabinet was receptive to that. But in the end, they basically stuck with concrete on the main line in the lanes of I-275, but they did agree to allowing the shoulders to be, for us to use asphalt pavement on the shoulders. And as I pointed out there, KYTC was always open. In those meetings, they always attended the meetings well. They had the appropriate discipline there. And I don't know, Brandon, I know this, is there anything you want to comment on as far as the ATC process?
Sure. I'll point out that I wasn't actually a part of it. At the time, we had a different project manager. So I actually took over as project manager once the project was awarded. But I've been filled in on most of it. And, I think it was really important for the cabinet to be open and willing to listen to, all the ideas of each of the candidates that were putting together proposals. And, we viewed this as a collaboration. We didn't want this to be standoffish. We wanted to collaborate with all of the candidates and make sure that we were working to get the best project that we could. And in the end, I think that benefited us. And I think it really helped to develop the working relationship that we have with the current team.
Absolutely. Okay, so to go into a little more detail of the alternative technical concept, one thing we did was the interchange configuration. The project was proposed with more or less like a partial cloverleaf interchange. And when we were looking at it, we came up with the DCD design. And that reduced the earthwork for the project, improved traffic flow. It also reduced the bridge width, and it involved less pavement. And as I pointed out, I think the cabinet was agreeable to that, and we were able to proceed forward with that. Mitch or Josh, or anything you want to comment on that one?
You're good. Go ahead.
And then, of course, the alignment shift for Graves Road, it was pretty significant. The original, and I don't know if you can see my mouse at all, but the original design actually came in more of a skewed to the intersection where this is Bulletsville Road, and it required rebuilding Watts Road and Graves Road as far as the intersection. And one of our ATCs was to change the intersection of the Kentucky 20. And if I recall, I don't even think that had to be approved as an ATC. I just think we presented that as part of the project. But the cabinet felt like, we were maintaining an intersection with Kentucky 20, and it wasn't actually an ATC to be approved. But it tremendously aligned the intersection, involved less pavement. It significantly reduced the right-of-way impacts in that area because of the changes with Watts Road and Bulletsville Road. And it also significantly reduced the utility impacts, especially by avoiding the SD1 pump station near the intersection of existing Graves Road. And then I've already mentioned the roundabout on Kentucky 237. We looked at multiple alternatives there, and we ended up deciding it was best to shift the roundabout just a little bit south of the existing location. It's still on top of the existing location, but it is shifted slightly to the south, and it will be easier to build the project while also maintaining traffic. We were still able to meet the cabinet's goal of increasing capacity in that roundabout, and once again, it reduced the right-of-way. Keith McDonald led the right-of-way acquisition process. And for those that just left the Callaway County project, let's point out that he was buying Callaway County at the same time he was buying Graves Road. So he was hustling. And we started out with 81 parcels. That's what the cabinet advertised with the project. And as we modified our design and with the DCD design, we were able to reduce impacts to only 61 total parcels, reducing 20 parcels in the process. Now, the priority of the project was to get the interchange constructed, and those parcels involved 22 parcels. So we basically, as Keith McDonald he always referred to buyable units. While we were talking buildable units, he was talking buyable units. And so his first buyable unit was the 22 parcels tied to the interchange project. We were responsible as the design build team for obtaining the titles and appraisals and the closing attorney. One of the things that was significantly different with this design build project is the cabinet required the design build contractor to contract the fee attorney. So not only were we responsible for having the fee attorney work for us, we also had to pay the fee attorney. More importantly, we had to estimate how many condemnations may be involved with this project as we put the price together for the services. To my knowledge, the cabinet's never done that before. And that was a high risk in the process. And it was one that we depended greatly upon Keith McDonald and Tim Flynn's experience in District 6 buying right-of-way. And when we did that, Keith did one heck of a job with this project. I also want to, in defense of my brother Keith, I want to say that his Christmas was, he had a really difficult time during Christmas because every single day, either Mitch or Josh was calling him saying, have you bought property yet? Have you bought property yet? And he was trying to explain how the appraisal process worked. Hey, you guys didn't care about the appraisal process. You just wanted to own some property up there to start working. And Keith was sweating bullets through the holidays, but he got it done. As I pointed out, I was in charge of the utility relocations with Ed Sanders. There were 8. I'm going to turn to my notes here so that I don't get caught up. There were 8 major utility companies, and that was one of the bigger challenges with this project, because if you drive out there along Graves Road and you see the substation in the photograph there toward the top of the page, and that's the pump station for SD1, and at the bottom of the page that you can see, there were some serious utility issues that we had to work around. and we were able to greatly minimize the utilities with our design changes. But before, I guess one of the things I want to point out, what was key to this project, and from my standpoint on the utility side, but I think it's true from the builder side as well, from the contractor side. District 6 and KYTC did a lot of work preparing for this project. When we basically just started looking into the project in the beginning, we met with all the utility companies, and all of the utility companies was very aware of this project. All of the utility companies had already met with KYTC. Bob Yeager, Rob Franksman, Mike Bezold, Tony Blau, Dane Blackburn, Carol Callan Ramler. Basically, they had already done a lot of legwork on this, and the utility companies understood that this project was going to come at them hard and it was going to come fast. And what we saw in working through this project, the utility companies have been responsive every step of the way. And it started with KYTC's coordination in the beginning. They knew this project was coming and they knew it was important. And the second thing, and Brandon, I don't know if I don't want to steal your thunder because I know you mentioned this the other day, but when the cabinet decided to pay 100% reimbursement for utilities, that kind of set it up where all of the utility companies were very dedicated to responding to this project. And to be honest, I don't think we would have had the success we had with utilities if KYTC hadn't done those two crucial things. And that was early coordination and deciding upon the 100% reimbursement.
Sure, Kevin. I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, you guys are all pretty familiar that we typically don't pay for utilities to be relocated that are within the right of way. Any of you that have had any construction experience know that the biggest headache and delays on a project are almost always relocating utilities, though. And with us doing this early coordination and actually paying them, knowing that they're going to get paid to do this work, they were motivated, they showed up, and they got the job done. And we avoided any potential utility issues. So I think that's something that was a bit unique to this project that we did differently, but it made a huge difference.
Just looking at, again, I'm a substitute presenter for Stephen Sewell, so I'm trying to remember all the little points that was important to mention here. Looking at the list of items on the screen here, the timing of the relocations and the timing of right-of-way acquisitions were key. We were clearing project areas to work one parcel at a time, and we were clearing areas for utility companies to work, and we were clearing areas for the highway contractor to work. The other thing, the cabinet required that the agreements be written between Eaton Asphalt and the utility companies. This basically, the entire cabinet utility process was bypassed with this. It still came back. The cabinet had final approval, but we had to develop agreements with each of the utility companies before the utility work could begin out there with approved plans. Photograph you see on the upper right, and well, both photographs, these are some of the things that we had to do with the project. There was a massive jack and bore underneath I-275 that Palmer Engineering designed. Stephanie Blaine at Palmer led that activity as far as she did all the grunt work. It was a 42-inch steel encasement pipe, and we designed it for Duke. We designed it for Cincinnati Bell. We designed it for Spectrum, and we designed it for Owen. And basically, you can see just how many conduits that we had to have in place for all the fiber to run through that. And one of the things when we were talking about the importance of teaming, obviously everything we did in the development of the design for utilities came back. This is why Ed Sanders was involved with Eaton. We not only designed it on paper, we also designed it to make sure it worked out in the field. And we were constantly making adjustments to make sure that what we were proposing would actually work. And Mitch mentioned this yesterday. Everything worked well until the 9th hour. We actually had the steel encasement pipe in the ground we already had Cincinnati Bell in the pipe, and Duke was getting ready to go to work there. And Owen got nervous that the pipe was going to be too hot for their facilities. And they were concerned about heat induction. So we had to kind of work on that a little bit, and it was a little bit stressful behind the scenes. But we came up with an agreement with Owen that they relocated their line through this conduit under I-275, more or less temporarily, although it's going to remain permanently. But we also had to agree to allow them to do an overhead relocation along Watts Road to tie back into this same area, just to make sure that they don't have any loss that they can't live with. And again, I think that's the significance of the design build effort, is this wasn't just something we worked in, come as an old cabinet person. It wasn't just some agreement we came to working on it on the project development side. We were in the process of building this. So it was an agreement that also came back to what the contractor could live with. I don't know. I feel like I don't want to talk too much about utilities, but it was a fun project to be a part of. One of the things that we had to relocate Duke along existing Graves Road from the substation out to I-275 with underground distribution line that we designed for them. And fortunately, Boone County Water District was not involved in the priority interchange portion, but Boone Florence Water Commission was. And so we've worked with them, but Eaton Asphalt was basically, they're doing all of the water line relocation. And then the other thing we could do with utility relocations was we did some temporary poles just to get stuff out of the way. Environmental process, David Waldner led that. And fortunately for this project, all of the environmental was already approved by the cabinet. There was already an environmental document, and all that we needed to do was to update the permits, and also the area of impact, the area of potential effect. Basically, there was a slight change that we had to work through KYTC and FHWA through a reevaluation of the environmental document. But one of the key things that we can say is we did save the cabinet money by reducing the in lieu fees and also by reducing the impacts to the bat habitat. So that's one of the changes that we were able to make with our interchange ATC.
Okay. Thanks, Kevin. So as I mentioned earlier, the plan development process is very important. One of our strategies to attack this was to have weekly DBT meetings. This would have all the task force meeting in one room. Obviously, that was a different time when we could all sit down together. That every one of these meetings, there was no less than 2 major decisions that were made that would have a very dramatic effect on the plan development. As Kevin had stated, there was a lot going on at the time. There was right-of-way acquisition going on, utility relocation. We're working on our schedule. So these meetings were very productive. We also added the cabinet and biweekly meetings. So what we would do at these meetings is tell the cabinet where we were, let them know if we had any issues at all, and maybe if there was some scope discrepancies, we would ask them some questions, get their thoughts on it. I think this had a positive effect on them, helping them meet their schedule. The cabinet gave themselves a very aggressive review schedule, and they met it every time. And I think through coming to these meetings and seeing it, they were able to have an idea of what they'd be concerned about, what they wanted to look at. So I think that had a positive effect on the schedule in the review process. And of course, we had to meet our project schedule. And so we broke up the buildable units into the incentive area, into chunks that made sense, that we could build, that we could relocate the utilities and get this project open by the incentive date.
Yeah, from the cabinet's perspective, those weekly, bi-weekly meetings were really important to keep that continuity going. And, once we got to construction, it felt like a giant hurdle, but then we realized, we still had to build the whole dang thing. So, that's the unique part about this, is every time you hit a milestone, you realize that there's a lot in front of you still. This is a pretty unique project from a construction standpoint for us, in that we went with 100% consultant CEI, so construction administration and inspection services, and we have a really good firm on board. WSP is the lead firm for that, And we've used consultant inspection before, but it's really been through our master agreement, kind of on a rent-a-tech basis, if you will, to supplement our own staff. We haven't really turned over an entire project administration in District 6, at least, to a consultant. So that's definitely been new for us. So far, so good. They're doing a great job, and I think we found a really good balance working with them. There's a lot of other really unique aspects to it, though. Probably the most unique is that this project was bid as a lump sum project. However, we're still required to produce a schedule of values, and we still have to figure out a way to track all of our material testing and sampling requirements. So to do this, we have a real project that we run estimates on that's a lump sum project, but we also have what we refer to as our tracking project that breaks down all the individual items similar to what a normal project would look like. And, you know, this is something that took a lot of getting used to on our end, because you have 2 contract ID numbers, subcontracts for one versus the other. So administratively, it kind of added a whole other layer to things that we have to deal with. And fortunately, we've been able to make that work. You know, everything with this project is a little more complex. We have to coordinate so many things with so many more people. Typically, when a project gets to construction, you're dealing primarily just with the contractor. But we have the contractor, we still have the design engineer involved. They're still purchasing right of way while construction is going on. We have, you know, our CEI consultant to work with, plus all of the various KYTC technical staff that's reviewing things. So there's a lot of moving pieces to keep in line. And as Josh mentioned before, during the design plan development process, we wanted to keep very tight deadlines and schedules for turnarounds. And as we got into construction, submittals and approvals for that were no different. We wanted to get that stuff turned around as soon as possible. And to this point, I think we've kept up our end of that bargain. So things got released for construction. It was just the beginning, and we're still in the middle of all that. But it's definitely been a unique challenge, but one that's progressing pretty well so far.
Thanks, Brandon. Once the project was awarded in September, October of last year, we had some major points that we wanted to get accomplished before winter set in 2019. Number one was to build the southern embankments so we could get our dedicated subcontractor, Hayden Bridge, started on the south end abutments of the bridge. We also were working on storm drainage. And as Kevin mentioned earlier, you know, it was very important for us to get the jack and bore in the ground. And once spring of 2020 came, we could start on that utility relocation. And last, we took I-275 and got it into phase for the spring construction activities.
Hayden Bridge was able to get started out there basically, I think in did they start in 2019 or was it in early 2020? That's a question to Mitch or Josh. I don't, but the key was like Mitch mentioned, was to get the embankments constructed on the south side. And then when that embankment was constructed, that Hayden was able to move in and start driving piles there while the embankment on the north side of the bridge got brought up. Once the SC, and then of course the abutment construction followed suit with that. Here's some great pictures of the actual bridge construction whenever the beams were being set. We had to work with Brandon and District 6 to schedule that. Basically, we had to do a public awareness to let the community know that the traffic would be significantly impacted during the time these were scheduled. What we did was we used rolling roadblocks. And basically, that work had to be done from 10 o'clock at night until, let's see, I think it was 6 a.m. in the morning. Was that your limitation? So here you can see the beams being set in place. The picture in the at the top of the screen, the beams were set in June, and then the bottom screen, those were set in July. And the deck has been poured, and basically everything. Let's see, I think I got one more picture of the bridge. Yeah, the bridge is just about complete out there. We're just working on the railings now.
As we moved into spring 2020, Kevin did mention that Eaton Jurgensen crews are working on the northern embankment and continuing drainage. So we were isolated within the Kentucky right-of-way for some time. And then once spring came and right-of-way acquisition was started, we were clearing and grubbing towards the north, towards Worldwide Boulevard. It's interesting to note, as we talked about this yesterday, right-of-way acquisition was running parallel with our construction activities, the clearing and grubbing and so forth. We also installed the conduit bank as we showed earlier, and finally got the utilities relocated. And then once March came, we were hit with the pandemic of COVID, and it basically changed our whole normal process. As we were meeting, face to face, that was no longer allowed. I guess what I will say is, I think the tone, we talked about this earlier, was set at the beginning of the ATC meetings, and the openness with KYTC. So that was very good, and it enabled us to move into the Zoom meetings with everybody at home. It's still today a tall task, but we are muddling through it. And as we continue, we have a virtual plan review. We have virtual construction status meetings, and then as well, Brandon, you might want to talk about this, the construction activities and material standpoint from WSP's perspective.
Yeah, it certainly presented some unique challenges. As Mitch mentioned, all of our normal progress meetings that we have near site are done via Microsoft Teams or Zoom, our plan reviews. But, also, we've moved to contactless ticketing and sampling. So, normally we have our inspectors in the field taking a rock ticket or something directly from the truck driver, and we've got our record, and, we're not doing that right now. So now we're working with Mitch and his guys to work with their producers and vendors to get e-ticketing and that kind of stuff implemented, so we don't have that extra contact. So there's, COVID has just added so many more layers to this. And in a lot of ways, I think everybody's done a great job and really thrived throughout this and figured out very quickly how to adapt. But it certainly added a lot more to everybody's job now. That there's one more extra step, it seems, to everything right now. So just one more unique aspect of this project.
Yeah, and I'll point out, working with utility companies, a lot of the people we were working with stopped working from their offices and started working from their home. And sometimes that, sometimes they became more productive, and sometimes they become less productive. But they dealt with the same issues that we were dealing with. They're managing resources, managing their crews working out there in the field. So it became that became a challenging, just like what everyone else has said. The other thing I want to point out is condemnation issues. For those that are involved in right-of-way with the cabinet now, know that everything changed significantly. Your ability to go to a person's house and make an offer, that became a whole lot more difficult to deal with. And then, of course, one of the issues we ran into is, I mentioned condemnations earlier. We ended up only having to condemn for 4 parcels within the Interchange project. 3 of those parcels, basically, once the attorney got involved, we were able to work out an arrangement to get right of entry and to move forward. But there's always one parcel, and that one parcel is always the most critical parcel on the entire job, or at least it seems like it becomes so. And this was just a small little taking, right, basically tucked in next to the DCD area on the north end, where basically we needed that property to shift Williams Road over. We needed that property to rebuild Graves Road, and we needed that property so that we can install a water line across so that we could do those things. The court system shut down on us. And the fellow we were dealing with was in Florida. So basically, how do you deal with a court system that's no longer conducting business and you're trying to reach a property owner that's no longer in the state? And all I can say is it really did delay the process. It delayed the progress that we were making out there. And nevertheless, we eventually got right of entry by July 1st. And I'll show you how quickly things work. We got right of entry by the 1st of July. And Mitch, what day did we get Williams Road open to traffic?
August the 12th.
August the 12th. So I think we could have probably had that open to traffic a month or so earlier if we'd had that parcel.
Kevin, I think one other thing to mention is because of that delay, by the time you got right of entry, we were smack dab in the middle of back cutting restrictions. So you couldn't even clear the parcel until August 1st. So really it was from August 1st to August 12th.
True. That's exactly right. It's all fun.
As Kevin mentioned, we had our summer 2020 construction activities, and you can see in the pictures on the right is Graves Road, the new alignment of Graves Road. So we continued grading and storm drainage installation. The next slide, I'm sorry, Kevin, go back one.
Oh, okay.
As Kevin mentioned, the major key component of getting this new alignment was relocating Williams Road. As you can see on the picture to the right, Williams Road is relocated now. So we were able to put the fill in over top of existing Williams Road and connect the dots from the bridge north. Also, a major component of this project is I-275 widening. We were adding auxiliary lanes on I-275 and then the ramps that will connect in eventually. I guess to wrap up, we'll all share this slide. What we have learned, as we mentioned, this job was advertised in March of 2019, and we began having weekly meetings soon thereafter, and with roughly 15 to 20 people showing up every week, and they were coming from Winchester, Springfield, Lexington, Ohio, and Kentucky. So there was a lot of commitment from everybody that I mentioned earlier in the first slide, from Eaton, Jurgensen, Hayden Bridge, Palmer, Burgess and Neipel, Geotechnology, Gresham and Smith, and I might have missed one more, but Integrated. So everybody was very involved from the get-go. And what that led into, I will say, it was a different perspective for me being the prime Eaton Asphalt. Generally, when we're bidding a hard bid build job, it's advertised, 3 weeks prior, and then we submit a bid. Whereas now we've been working on this project for roughly 8 to 9 months. So for me, there was that fear of letting the team members down because everybody had put so much time and invested so much time and energy. I guess the third point, we're still, the DBT and KYTC are still trying to figure it out. It's still a new concept, but it's challenging, but it's really neat to see everybody work together. And as Kevin mentioned, we got, regardless of the VAT note, we got that right of entry on the July, in July, and we were able to get Williams Road relocated on August the 12th. So it took a lot of effort and teamwork. I'll let you all speak on that too, guys, on the DBT, KYTC, still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, Mitch, and I'll piggyback on your, your collaboration note. On the KYTC end, this was a District 6 project, but we've had a tremendous amount of support from, our folks in central office and the district right away. Our geotech staff and traffic staff, structure staff have all been tremendous. And I talked about all those quick turnarounds. They've been awesome. When we have something come up, they've been on top of it and really given us the support that we needed. So, it's truly taken a team effort from every resource that we have on both the contractor designer side and on the KYTC side. I mean, everybody's really been great. And, that next point about everybody having a different interpretation, I think we all have lessons learned. And we had a couple lessons learned almost immediately out of the gate on this one. And, there's definitely different ways to interpret things, even though things seem black and white. You can definitely read things differently sometimes than the people on the other side. But I think to this point, everybody's done a really good job of working through it together and trying to keep that collaborative effort, even during some pretty tough discussions at times.
I agree. And I guess representing the engineering consultant industry, I really like the statement of fear of letting team members down. I think that by the time we worked through this process to win the project, everybody on the design build team we were heavily invested in this project, and we wanted to be successful. We had all collaborated on the commitments we made and the plans we'd put together, and we wanted to be successful. And we've had some difficulties to work through on this. And I think once again, once we started working on the job, once we started building it, I feel like KYTC's been right there with us too. I think that there's been different meetings where we've basically had to, I won't say it's a favor, but we're asking, is it acceptable for us to go ahead and do this? And Brandon and everyone in District 6 and everyone at KYTC, they've been willing to do that every time they could, every time that they could feel confident it was the right decision. Once again, we made a lot of this up as we went along. I mean, there was a lot of this process that we knew what our goal was, but we had to make it up as we went along. And Josh, I don't know if there's anything you want to add.
Yeah, one of the main advantages of design build is obviously the time, which is what it takes to build the project. But that all falls apart if you have disagreements and there aren't quick decisions being made. Everybody has to keep that momentum going forward, and this project has done that. Everybody's kept that momentum going forward, making decisions quickly, along with disagreements. Everybody's been able to communicate their side of it without anybody getting frustrated and still keeping that goal of getting this project open on time.
And the last two bullets, flexibility is the key. And I think design build basically allows a lot more flexibility when you blend the entire project development process with the construction process. When you have the right team working together, you can be a lot more flexible. On the other hand, you might have to work a lot more hours to make it happen, but you can be more flexible. And then, of course, there's nothing like building a critical project, a critical infrastructure project with a tight schedule and having a pandemic start. I mean, that just, that there's nothing like that. So I think, thank goodness for the technology that we have, but also the willingness that everyone has that, I don't care where we're working from, we're still working on this project, and it's worked out very well. The last point I'll make is the contractor designer relationship, the daily conversations. I don't know how much Mitch and Stephen or Josh and Stephen talk on Saturday or Sunday, but I'm sure it's some. But I know they talk every day through the week, and it's quite often that it's in the AM and the PM. And I would expect Brandon's on the other end of those conversations as well. And one of the advantages of design build is if the contractor's out there working and he runs into something that's a little bit unexpected, then Mitch calls Stephen and says, "Okay, we got a problem here. How do we figure this out?" Sometimes Mitch just needs 10,000 yards. Maybe he just needs 10,000 yards. And he calls Stephen and says, "I need 10,000 yards. Where can I get it?" And they're out there digging right now where we were able to figure out where would be a good place to get this material within the right of way that we currently own. So it's little things like that you can work through.
Yeah, and I would piggyback on that. It almost should be like a tribe venture, contractor, designer, and owner. We've had, just because we have a Wednesday meeting set up at 1:00 with the whole team doesn't mean that we do not talk with Brandon or Stephen almost on if it's not a daily, it's every other day at least. So that's it's been a very good experience and a rewarding experience so far.
Okay, so this is actually our last slide. Yeah, we're doing okay for time. Our last slide, and but we have a video that we're hoping that will work and that we'll share with you. But let me make sure I don't. When you're looking at this project area, Mitch, I think you deserve the right to explain the pictures here.
So basically, you have 4 pictures. The top left is February 26, 2020. The top right is June 26, 2020. Bottom left, you can see within 2 months, there was a big difference, big change in landscape from June 26th to August 27th, which is the bottom left picture. And then fast forward to yesterday, bottom right is September the 9th. So within, basically 7 months, a lot has taken place in a very, it's almost like a postage stamp, so to speak, because we're working in the incentive area.
Yeah, and I should also point out the nice little brick house in there in the bottom right-hand corner. That was the little special parcel that we had to work through. So you can see what happens from June 26th to August 27th. Once you have right of entry to the project, and you can clear for bats, right, Brandon?
Absolutely.
Mitch, I will see if the video will play. And I don't know if you want to talk over the video as it's playing or whatever, but one of the things that, let's see. Okay, that's potential.
There you go.
Now, I don't know this. It may end up being jerky, but
basically we're on the northern part of the job right now. Currently, Worldwide is below you, and as we head south, Grays Road is on your left, and Williams Road is on your right. It should take us south to I-275. It might take a little while, Kevin. We'll see if it loads fast enough to play. You can see currently we're installing dense grade aggregate on Graves Road, getting ready to lay drainage blanket on Saturday, and then hopefully curb installation first of next week. Seems pretty slow, Kevin.
Well, we've got 10 minutes. Brandon, do you want to talk about an incentive area?
Yeah, I'll just briefly mention that one of the other unique aspects of this project is that there is an incentive to get the interchange open by this fall. So if it seems like all this stuff's happening fast, there's a reason. As Mitch mentioned, this is a highly commercialized, industrialized area. It's also highly developed residentially as well, and anybody that's ever driven knows that a bunch of semis and a bunch of people trying to go to work and school don't always mix real well for traffic. So this was very important for us to try and get this opened in a timely manner, particularly to all the people that live and work out there. So we do have an incentive to try and get this thing open by this fall that they're working very hard for, and you can see the progress and how quickly that it's going. I do see we have a question on there about how we're tracking the budget. I mentioned a little bit earlier, we have kind of 2 CIDs for this. We have our real project that's paid via the lump sum, but we also have a tracking project that has a schedule of values, which I think is Josh and I's favorite thing in the world. It's been a challenge, but essentially it's set up like a normal project would be with all the unit bid items and quantities, and that's how we track it for pay estimates and for keeping track of material certifications and samples. Essentially, our inspectors in the field keep track on the tracking project, and we produce an estimate, progress estimate from that. Then we pay that amount on our real project as a % of the lump sum.
I think the rest of the comments, I feel like we've had cheerleaders basically cheering us on, or Let's just say it's something like that. Any other comments, gentlemen? We can kind of talk our way through this slow video because I think eventually we're going to see the whole job.
Andre just needs to stop heckling us.
He's giving us some congratulations now, Brandon.
Thanks, Andre.
Yeah, I guess we've been talking a lot about the project portion, the interchange portion of the project. We, of course, still have the remainder of the project to build, and that's to go north of Worldwide Boulevard to Kentucky 237, including the roundabout that we talked about as far as an ATC. And we also will go south of the interchange because the concept is to have the interchange open basically at I-275 back to Worldwide Boulevard. Then we'd go back to Kentucky 20, rebuild the intersection at Kentucky 20, and then the cabinet also included as part of the project improvements to Kentucky 237 at the I-275 ramps, and also the intersection where Pfister Place Boulevard is, and that's part of the project. And once again, the focus has been on the interchange portion of the project, but then as soon as that's finished, we'll basically start working north and south. Keith McDonald is buying right away still. The job isn't cleared. We just have the interchange cleared. And we are working to have the utilities cleared for the rest of the project as well. I still want to give a shout out to the utility companies because they've been very responsive. And they accepted the need to clear the interchange area and made it a high priority for them. And, hopefully we can keep them motivated to clear the rest of the job, and we can say good things about them when we're completely done.
Yeah, Kevin, I think that's a good point. The incentive section we're hoping to be completed this fall, but the rest of the project, the connections down to Kentucky 20 and over to Kentucky 237, actually have a completion date of 2022. So, we're all, I think we're all hoping that the pace is a little bit more normal once this section's done. But to this point, it's been all hands on deck and fast pace and pretty exciting.
At least the photograph, the video image I'm seeing, that's Williams Road on the right-hand side that traffic's on now. And that's Graves Road that you see with the subgrade work going on. And that's the DCD. You'll see the DCD footprint at the top of the screen, and we'll fly over that.
Keith, this is Chris. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. We actually need to wrap up the webinar because we're single point here, and we're going to run out of room.
Okay. One other little point I want to make is pretty well all of the design work's done on this project. Burgess and Nyepel and my group here at Palmer Engineering has done an outstanding job. And basically, as I said, we're just trying to get right away utilities taken care of. Mitch, do you want to close it?
No, just thanks, guys, and I'm glad we could present on this, and we'll keep on working and see if we can get this thing open.
Brandon, out of here.
We're good. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day and great partner conference.
Thank you.